Nicholas Cameron, the first Lord of the Star League to see the end of all true political opposition within the realm of the Star League, would create an environment for massive advancement for mankind through his tenure as Director General, and would be one of the most responsible for thrusting humanity into a new golden age. Raised to be ruler from the time he was a boy, he was composed, confident, and determined, and lacked the messiah complex of his father. The era of peace in the Star League truly began with the unified economy which Nicholas set up. A unified currency and unified trade made for an immediate boom in the economy after its full implementation. It also ensured ease of trade as well, which only further enhanced the boom as all regions of the Star League lost almost all trade barriers. This, of course, wasn't an even boom, and there would have been economic side effects as some regions became uncompetitive, but overall this was a net enormous gain in terms of personal incomes and comfort around the inner sphere and the periphery. The technology sector expanded dramatically as well during this time, as information more easily flowed between regions. Terra, the Federated Suns, and the Lyran Commonwealth, however, would dominate this space, with the Terrans doing everything they could to keep ahead, expanding their technological lead at this time. A single technological breakthrough would transform life across the inner sphere as much as jump travel had. The HPG transmission was invented for faster-than-light communication. This would have a radical change to life across the inner sphere once it was implemented, as people no longer had to wait months or years to send communications to other worlds. It could also happen rapidly, in minutes or hours. This would revolutionize communications across the inner sphere, and it would come to rely on this technology. The HPG network that was constructed would long outlive the Star League itself, and would become among the most vital infrastructure mankind as a whole would pass on throughout the centuries. It would become a beacon of technological light in the darkness that would follow the collapse of the League almost 150 years after its invention. The inner sphere itself would grow by 540 light-years during this time of unprecedented prosperity, and at least 1,000 new worlds would be colonized during the economic and technological windfall that graced humanity. This age was not necessarily filled with peace in its entirety, though. Michael Cameron, First Lord of the Star League following Nicholas, would deal with several frightening escalations which could have seen the Star League plunged into civil war. The first, in a grim premonition of what was to come, was an escalation of military production and procurement by the Rimworld's Republic, a periphery nation. Taddeo Amaris, leader of the Rimworld's Republic, had doubled his military from 8 to 15 regiments, and had made them far more capable, and that was just of mechs alone. This massive expansion gave grim indicators to the other Lords of the Star League, and inevitably a standoff took place between the rest of the League and the Rimworld's Republic, as well as its shadow ally, the Draconis Combine. Eventually Taddeo stepped down, as the Lords voted to limit the size of private and house militaries, though these units would continue to grow in secret in the Rimworld's Republic as weapons still quietly flowed into the realm. The second incident, coming after Michael Cameron married Duchess Katarina Mann, came when severe disunity occurred with the Draconis Combine, the primary shadowbacker of the buildup of the forces of the Rimworld's Republic. The Combine, under Urzian Kurita's government, viewed the SLDF troops in his realm as occupiers, rather than guardians of his people. And this was a major point for the source of this new conflict. There was also the issue that the Combine viewed people in its realm leaving for other lands, or joining the Star League institutions like the SLDF, as a constant brain drain on their economy. so efforts were made to stop this activity. It would, in essence, leave the economic union with the rest of the Star League, and tensions would run extremely high. An unannounced war of sorts, dubbed the First Hidden War, took place. Small skirmishes disguised as duels happened between House forces and Star League defense forces. Tensions would be at their height as several noteworthy duels, which ended in executions, took place. Eventually the scores were closer to even as the Star League learned from the Draconis Combine techniques and technology. Things never boiled over completely as the situation displayed how a war might go, with losses being severe on both sides. Simply put, the golden age of peace was too profitable for war to fully break out. There were too many people who would lose too much across the inner sphere, including within the Draconis Combine. It's also important to say that during this era of peace, the Terran hegemony would culturally dominate most of the inner sphere, barring the periphery realms in the Draconis Combine, though these realms too felt the massive influence of the cradle of humanity. This matched the dreams of the Camerons themselves, who believed that all of humanity should be within one realm and be one people. The saying, "one species, one realm," was the motto to them, and it seemed to be coming true. It would be under Jonathan Cameron, the next First Lord, however, that things would begin to shift. Military budgets began expanding wildly as he was plagued with visions that Terra would be conquered and brought to ruin, with these visions often coming to him during seizures. Some have argued that he was seeing the actual events that would unfold, given that he seemed to predict much of what was to come in the grim sights of the future. He would maintain a charming exterior in his dealings with diplomacy or politics, but he was personally plagued and paranoid. There was also an attempt to hold back as much military technology from his house allies as possible, depriving them of cutting-edge equipment. A massive civil war took place at this time, born over disputed succession within the Free Worlds League, but there was no federal ability to intervene in these eternal affairs. This problem would only spread as disputes appeared elsewhere. Misfortune would strike once again internally as the Second Hidden War took place. It once again involved the belligerent of the Draconis Combine. The eldest daughter of the first Prince Roger Davion, her name being Mary, had married Soto Kurita against her family's wishes. She would produce 2 sons, and it seemed as though through the rights of primogeniture, her offspring would inherit the federated sons after Roger's death. Legislation was passed in an attempt to avoid this, and it seemed to work at first. However, these claims would re-emerge after Roger and Mary's deaths, when the Draconis Combine insisted that the claims of Vincent Kurita, her eldest son, were still valid. Things boiled over despite diplomatic attempts from the First Lord and others to cool the situation. Prince Joseph Davion, the first prince of the Federated Sons, would be killed when he personally led his men into battle as conflict exploded along his border. After years of war, however, between the two states, and unlike the internal problems of House Marik's succession, the SLDF was built for intervening in interstate conflicts. The League would intervene shortly after the First Prince's death and end the fighting. Once finished, a peace was imposed on the two warring states. The Kuritans took the larger share of the blame and the larger share of the punishment. They were denied the throne of Davion, losing their claims, and the borders would reset, which had been in their favor. This would be the end point for the Golden Years. The Star League's member states' own internal issues made the larger structure increasingly hard to manage. and the budget being directed towards the Star League Defense Force in such huge quantities deprived the budget of other things to support all states equally. Soon, the periphery would be in arms once more, and the houses would begin acting in their own interests even more now. Few would realize it in the year 2730, least of all the Camerons, but the dream of the Star League was coming to a close. Thank you for joining me here today. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking it and subscribing to the channel. In our next video, we will be covering the fall of House Cameron itself. With that, I'll catch you in the comment section below.